LeBron James. That's y'all hero. Everybody yesterday was hitting me up and proud and happy. Like, yeah, we did it. I'm like, huh? Yeah, lock down Kawhi, lock down Paul George on the last shot. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say that, but he hit the game-winning shot. I'm like, it's amazing how delusional people are. They want to ignore what happened in the game. You gotta watch an entire game, not the BS that they feed you on ESPN and all the other little butt-kissing LeBron James shows you watch. If you watch the game, as we did live on the live stream through the entire game, you saw us on the stream yard watching that game. And it was very clear that LeBron James played like crap. It was one of the worst games LeBron James has ever played. He finished with 16 points. This bum from Akron was 3 of 12 after 3 quarters of basketball with 5 turnovers. He was so mad at his own self, he was in single digits. LeBron James, supposed to be the king, was in single digits. You know what he did? He changed his shoes at halftime because he's getting his butt whooped. He was out there getting pissed on. And the reason why that was happening is because he was not accustomed to having guys run at him the way they did. Kawhi jumped on him from the jump and defended him, and he didn't want no parts of Kawhi. He gave up the ball and said, "No, I'm going to go to AD." He went to AD, and they put Kawhi in foul trouble early when he was getting ready to get into a groove. They said, "No, we can't let this Negro get loose and embarrass LeBron on the restart night. No, you're going to have to sit down on this pine and think about it for the first quarter." So in the second quarter, he had to rush to keep the team back in it because they built a good free throw lead. So in the second quarter, he had to let loose. Where was LeBron? So you want to ignore the game and praise a guy who did absolutely nothing on one of the worst games he ever played in his life? There was let me repeat, no Lou Williams, no Montrezl Harrell. And y'all won by a last second tip in or put back by LeBron. And you want a pat on the back for that? If you a real Laker fan, you disgusted with how that team played. You're disgusted that LeBron played the way he did. But see, y'all not real Laker fans. Y'all LeBron fans. Y'all satisfied with mediocrity. You satisfied going to the finals and losing. At least we got there. Yeah, you one of them guys. That's loser mentality. Winners don't think that way. And that's why you like LeBron. Because you like losers. And he's a loser. 2 for 7 for 3. That's your kind of guy. Yep. Plus minus was a -4. Anthony Davis, the guy they gave 17 free throws to, his plus minus was a -3. But he had 34 points. The only guy who was in the starting lineup that was a plus was Pope. He was +6. Dion Waiters, who played 21 minutes and scored 11 points, he was 5 of 10 from the field. He was plus 17. Kyle Kuzma, who was 4 of 8 from the field, who hit 4 threes, he was plus 12. He scored 16. Even Caruso was plus 9. And he only scored 2 baskets. But they were plus. See, plus minus tells you another part of the game. It tells you we got to cut through the BS and look at all the things in its totality and give you a plus and minus based on the numbers, right? Now, if we look at team by team, box score and everything else, Kawhi Leonard, 7 of 16, 3 from 4 for 3. He was 11 of 13 free throws. He was a plus 16. A plus 16. Scored a 28 points. Now, I don't want to make it like plus minus brings down the game, but it's just very funny and weird to me how some people negate what actually happened and mix that up with what really happened. How they do that? Right? How they do that? What planet are we on where that's a possibility that makes sense? Kawhi Leonard once again outplayed LeBron, ripped the ball right out of his hands and treated him like a bum the entire game. And the last second shot, let's talk about the last second shot. Reggie Jackson's in the game because he wouldn't be there. Trez would have been there. But he had the box out. That's the only job he had was to box out. He didn't. He stood around and watched and saw the rebound hit the shot, hit the front of the rim, and the rebound went back to LeBron, and he put it back. That's what he does. A garbage basket for garbage points. That's what he do. But hey, he did his job. I can't be mad at him there. Now here, when Kawhi had that ball with 8 seconds, he was supposed to face him up and bust LeBron straight to the basket. But he's dead tired at this point because he couldn't afford to rest because he had to get back into the game. And mainly because he had to get back into the game, it threw everything off. Him getting back into the game threw everything off. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's throwing everything off. You're like, well, I can't really get jiggy with all of that. Because what are you telling me? When Kawhi brought that ball up, the play was this. He was supposed to drive hard to the basket. And if LeBron don't, jump in the air for the fake and stay home, find Paul George because Paul was hot. He had hit like 3 3-pointers. He was hot at that time. You got to look for him. He hit 6 threes. He hit 3 in a row. He was ready to go. And sure enough, they were looking for PG-13 on that play if he was open. Kawhi drove the ball. It wasn't designed for Kawhi to shoot. His job was to get the ball to Paul. Paul, if he comes and he pumps, he goes hard like he going towards the basket to see if the defense collapsed. LeBron and kind of everybody stayed home. So he pump faked, he turned, and he looked to get the ball to Paul because that was the play. Once he gave the ball up to Paul George was supposed to see if he had a shot, get it up. If not, Kawhi's job was to rotate out and, make the space in case Paul needs to pull up with a shot and kick the ball back to Kawhi for the final shot. They were playing for the win. They wasn't playing for the tie. So the name of the game wasn't go for the 2 to tie the game. The game was the 3 to win it. They weren't playing for overtime. That's what was going on. So a lot of people who don't know basketball didn't know that was the play. Kawhi was the drive because he thought that the rest of the team was playing him for the two. When they drove in, LeBron was staying home, and I said he played good defense on that. You know, he stayed home. Kawhi wasn't really trying to drive to the basket to get the foul. That wasn't it. He posted pump fake because that was the play that they drew up, and he threw it to Paul George, and he rotated out. One thing that I didn't like that Kawhi did is he stayed too close to Paul George. He should have pulled out a little bit more further. If he'd have done that, he would have pulled Pope out towards him, because Paul told me he would have had to follow Kawhi. He had to stay with him. So it would have opened up more space for Paul George to dribble out and put up for the three. Now, the little foul that he's talking about, LeBron hit him with a forearm in the side of the ribs. I mean, he's going to do that, and he's not going to get called for it. What referee would call that? Right now, that referee would be having his bags packed, closing his trunk, driving home, saying, I'm sorry to the wife and kids, but we're going to have to downsize. So, I'm not mad at him for that. But, you know, they won a game that they were supposed to. I won money because they didn't cover the spread. There's a lot of people pissed in LA. Y'all sitting up here celebrating. They jagged the game. They couldn't cover 4.5 without Lou Williams and Therese there. So real Laker fans said, damn, imagine when they get those people back. We'd have lost this game by 20. Yeah. Now you're getting the picture, convict. You was going to lose this game by 20. So what you need to be doing is thanking your lucky stars and not trying to go brag to people about a game that you shouldn't have won by 20. If you really that team. Because guess what the Clippers are thinking? Oh, we got them. You think Deion Waiters is going to be the guy that saved the day? That's going to be your savior when the clutch comes? Oh, no. See, things got out of whack because they didn't have the personnel there to cover certain assignments. And in the stretch, you're going to see what really happens when it comes down to it. When the rubber meets the road, we'll see who be standing. Because as far as team and personnel, they got it. And I started to like the rotation of putting Paul George on Anthony Davis. He was disrupting him till they start slapping him with ridiculous fouls so that they could free him up so he could abuse Morris. But we get it. We know that Paul could switch off on him and hold his own with his athleticism because Anthony Davis don't play like a big man. I'm quite sure Doc is watching that now when he's watching the tape and seeing how they rotate and switch shoe pots on somebody else. But what Doc got to realize is that he can't adjust and go completely small with the rest of the lineups like the Lakers do. They go super small and then they start running back and forth because they got better rebounders with those guys without Trez being out there. So it's going to be very interesting when it gets to when this thing really matters. So we're going to see who last. Yeah. Carcino for life, man. Don't forget to subscribe to the page. Hit the notification bell. Select all on all the videos. And definitely support the Cash App, which is Carcino, Karceno. Love, peace, and hair grease. LeBron lose chips all the time, B. We don't care if he be all right.